Most things that are free are what I call a trick. This is free, but if you spend this much money, you get so and so, you join the magic club, you do this, that, and the other. It's kind of all a trick. What I love about this, it's not a trick. In the new world, we all have to be continuously learning. And if you don't want to, you're going to lose.
Hi, I'm Johnny Campbell, CEO of Social Talent, and welcome to the podcast. Today, we're joined by one of the most influential voices in the world of leadership, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall isn't just a best-selling author or world-renowned executive coach. He's a pioneer who's helped shape the leadership journeys of more than 200 CEOs and countless organizations around the world. He's been recognized as the number one executive coach in the world, ranked top 10 business thinker by Thinkers 50 multiple times. He tells me he's one of the top social media writers as well, although we'll talk about who's ahead of him in that list in a second. And his books like What Got You Here Won't Get You There, Triggers, and The Earned Life have transformed the way leaders grow, change, and lead others. Marshall's philosophy is rooted in evidence-based coaching, behavioral change, and intentional leadership. Principles that are now facing arguably a new frontier with the rise of AI. In our conversation today, we're going to explore how leaders can adapt, thrive, and lead ethically in an age where technology is changing not just the tools we use, but how we show up as leaders. Marshall, it's an absolute honor to have you with us. One of you might share with our audience where you're joining us from, maybe give us a little bit of a history as to how you got into this game in the first place.
It's so good to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Pleasure. Where are you joining us today from, Marshall?
I am in Nashville, Tennessee. And for all of the listeners, I will now impress you with my neighbors. My neighbors here in Nashville are Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman, and the woman who owns the house across the street is Taylor Swift. So yeah, I don't think I'm the big frog in this pond.
Well, Marshall, you are somebody who's really leading some pioneering use of AI in the leadership world. And I'd love to hear about your AI legacy bot. Can you take us back to what inspired the creation of that legacy bot? Because obviously some people talk about building something like that, but you went ahead and did it. Why did you did it? What inspired you to kick that off?
I've always wanted to give away everything I know to as many people as I can for free. All my intellectual property is free. I give everything away. I think that's just a better way to live. I'm a Buddhist, and Buddha doesn't charge me money for his wisdom. And also, I do this in honor of some of the great people that helped me. I mean, I'm very fortunate. Paul Hersey, my old mentor, Ken Blanchard, Peter Drucker, Warren Bennis, Francis Hesselbein, Alan Mulally, all these great people helped me. They didn't charge me any money. So I've been trying to do this for a long time. I never had much success, though, until I'd say the last 2 to 3 years, because it's harder to do than you think. Create an environment where people can ask questions and get answers. It's not been easy. And this is mind-blowing how good it is. So now I'm taking everything I know, putting it on AI. And, today's a really nice day for me. I just got so many moving notes back on LinkedIn because I'm doing this in multiple languages. And we're starting out to do a test in Hindi. And I've gotten so many notes today from people saying, I really appreciate you doing this in Hindi and multiple languages. People I know would like to learn these things. They haven't had an opportunity. So it's just been wonderful.
So why does the world need this? I get why you want to share and give back, but does the world need AI-powered coaching, or what's happening in that world? Why do you think this is a thing?
Well, it's very interesting. What I'm doing, I'm not sure coaching is the right word for it. See, what I'm doing is information sharing and knowledge sharing. I'm sharing all I know, but it goes way beyond what I know. Way beyond what I know. Let me give you an example. My daughter wanted to trick my computer bot. By the way, if you want to go to this, just go to marshallgoldsmith.ai. It's all free anyway. And my daughter wanted to trick it. So she said, how is your coaching related to utilitarian philosophy? I don't even know what utilitarian philosophy is. It studies utilitarian philosophy. It studies my coaching. It says, here's how it's similar and different than utilitarian philosophy. It answers the question exactly like I would answer it in 5 seconds in multiple languages.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing.
How many languages do you actually speak, Marshall?
I speak 32 now. I mean, Marshall, the human doesn't speak, but wait a minute, this is funny. How many languages do I speak? Let me see if I can answer that question. Yeah, how many languages do I speak? Yeah. Well, right now, according to my computer bot, I can speak 32 languages, and I'm pretty fluent in almost all of them. So, and this is this is a very yeah. How many languages do I speak? Well, it's nice to be able to speak 32 languages.
I love this, Marshall, right? I'm sure you've thought about this, but you have over the years written down a lot of your insight, knowledge, and advice. You've recorded many podcasts, you've made training videos with this stuff, you're recorded doing keynotes. Do you
Mhm.
see this as, one of the best ways to really, just record your legacy and your knowledge and information, your personality, kind of once and for all, and hopefully for eternity, for people to be able to access and dive into?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think the word, though, is that you said 2 words, one of. This is not the only way.
Mm.
I mean, I'm still doing seminars, or talk, not doing seminars as such, but I'm still doing coaching. I talk to people online. I'm doing all kinds of stuff, but this is a very powerful way. It's a very powerful way. Now, let's say that I'm your coach, and I am more of a traditional, what I call ICF coach, which is basically ICF coaching is not about giving advice. ICF coaching is based upon asking questions. It's the Socratic method, which is fine. Well, this is a great resource that you can use to help you. Now, let's say your client, though, has more of a what I call a technical problem, wants to be a better delegator. Well, ask, how can I be a better delegator? You're going to get all kinds of great ideas. It's you've got nothing to lose. What I love about this is free too. And by the way, it's not only free, and I like to reinforce this, most things that are free are what I call a trick.
Mm.
This is free, but if you spend this much money, you get so and so, you join the magic club, you do this, that, and the other. It's kind of all a trick. What I love about this, it's not a trick.
Well, you're already a neighbor of Keith Urban and Taylor Swift. I don't think you need the extra money from this, Marshall. I think I agree. I think your intentions are very genuine. You want to try and share this with the world, which I think is really brilliant. And again, there's no strings attached. People should check this out. We're seeing though, Marshall, in the general world of leadership and coaching, one of the things that I look at is that, we have the potential to scale the type of training and coaching you have given to folks in your career to
Mhm.
many more people. Because let's be honest, um, the top end of executive coach, even the middle and lower end of executive coaches aren't cheap. They're not for every manager, every leader.
Right, right.
You know, what's happening, do you think, in the wider world of leadership and coaching with AI? Is it a positive thing? What are you seeing people doing? What kind of products are coming out?
Well, in the world of coaching itself, there are probably too many coaches right now. Too many people are calling themselves coaches, and it's not a bad thing. It's just a market issue of supply and demand. And I think the reality is AI, this isn't a coaching bot, but I've seen coaching bots,
Mm.
and they're pretty good. They're not going to get worse, they're only going to get better. So I think coaching is like any other field. You need to learn to use new technology, but you can't sit there and hide from it.
Mm.
And if you hide from this, you're going to lose. You're going to lose because this is not going away. This is not going away. And so you're going to lose. To me, I love this stuff. I use AI all the time. By the way, I use AI to train my AI. If there's a question it doesn't answer, I can go to ChatGPT or Claude and say, "What would Marshall Goldsmith say?" They all know me, and they'll give me a pretty good answer. Then I edit that answer and put it in my own computer bot.
I love that.
S Yeah, so I spend, hours on AI one way or the other, and the other thing is now I'm big on LinkedIn, as we discussed. Last time I checked, I'm 49 in America on LinkedIn out of 250 million, so I've got 1.5 million followers, so I'm reasonably big on LinkedIn. And now I can do incredible graphics. I don't know if you've seen my LinkedIn post lately, but I've got all these graphics I can do. It's amazing. The quality is just amazing. And that would have cost me $1 zillion, taken all kinds of time in the past. Today, I can just sit there and crank that stuff out, and it's wonderful. So, there's a lot of good stuff here. And I think I am not childish or naive. I understand the negative consequences this can have, and they're serious. The reality is, my theory of life is this: can I make a positive difference? Peter Drucker taught me a great lesson in life. Our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove we're smart and not to prove we're right. So I don't want to go through life proving I'm smart or proving I know more than somebody else. Who cares? Right? We're just here to make a positive difference. Well, you can look at AI and sit there and pontificate about this, that, or the other. Is that going to help the world get better? Probably not. Probably not. You're just wasting time. Are you going to make a positive difference? Well, to me, what I'm trying to do is make a positive difference.
So Marshall, you mentioned earlier on you tried ChatGPT to say what would Marshall say, and we know that people are using AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude for advice on either general coaching, but
Right.
also on what's the specific management issue I have? How would you help me? What's your verdict on the results? Like, how good are the results? Can people rely on the advice being given?
Here's the key. One thing I teach is called feed forward. Now, in feed forward, you learn you ask for advice, you listen, and you say thank you. You're an adult. You make your own decision. You've got to treat all of this stuff that way, including mine. Let's say you want to be a better delegator. This will give you 7 or 8 ideas. Well, let's say you don't like one of them. Fine. Let's say you don't like 6 of them. Who cares? You're an adult. You got 7 options here. Well, pick one. Well, I mean, to me, the way you look at this is you've got to be an adult and take responsibility for your own life. You can't just sit there and say, I asked a computer about something, I did what it told me. Well, that's not particularly smart. It's not good to do with even human beings. You're an adult. So my clients, I practice feed forward. I tell my clients, look, I'm going to give you my ideas. I'm going to give you my ideas. If they work for you, say thank you. If they don't work for you, say thank you anyway. You don't have to do it. You're grown up here. Well, who are these people listening that are blindly going to follow anything? Grow up. You're an adult. You get ideas, you listen to it, you use it within your own judgment, and you make a decision.
So do you think the majority of leaders know how to even give advice like that to their teams on AI? Do you think there's a huge gap in particular in leaders on their AI confidence, knowledge, competency? What is your experience so far?
Well, my experience is you're exactly right. And my experience is also that's something that's going to need to change
Sure.
because it is not going away. It is not going to go away. So the question is, are you going to go away? And you either learn to work in the new world or you don't. That's like saying, well, I don't like emails. Well, nobody in the world cares. Or I don't like the internet. Well, so what? You don't like the internet. Well, the internet's not going place. So, I think the reality is just adapting to the new world. And it's hard, by the way. I'm not saying it's easy. It is tough out there. And anytime there's a technological change, it's hard. It is very, very hard. I understand that. You have to face the reality that exists.
Do you think there's a risk, Marshall, though, that if more managers and leaders are using AI to advise them, to give them ideas, tips, notwithstanding the fact that, as you say, they're adults, they need to use their own decision making as to whether to take the advice or not, that there's a risk of an erosion of empathy when the machine doesn't know the person you're talking about, the wider context, 'cause maybe you haven't shared that. That it can come down to very black and white decisions, and we lose that personal touch where I'm sure you've had this, where it's easy to decide, "I'm gonna let that person go or give out to that person," in a cold context, but when you know the person, you see them, you've spent the last number of years with them, they've been part of your team, you change sometimes your decisions about how you'll manage them, what you'll say, because empathy plays a role, probably an important role in your decision making. Have you thought about that in terms of, how AI might change that some way?
You're making an assumption. Your assumption that empathy and knowledge are somehow correlated. They're not. There are very bright people who are very empathetic, and very bright people are
Mhm.
you know, you can learn a lot and have empathy. You can learn a lot and have no empathy. This is not going to make you have empathy or not make you have empathy. That's in your heart. You're not going to get that from here, or you're not going to lose it from here. See, I want to go back to the concept of individual responsibility.
Sure.
As a leader, you are responsible for that. You are responsible for demonstrating empathy. There's no machine's going to do it for you. That's your job, and you can't replace that with a machine.
When you look at, such a change in technology, such as AI coming into the workplace with fear, excitement, all the different emotions in teams, managers, leaders above you, people below you, what are some of the leadership fundamentals that you would encourage people to focus on to help navigate through all this change?
Well, the first thing is be open-minded. Second, continuous learning.
Sure.
AI can help you engage in continuous learning. In the new world, you're going to have to be involved in continuous learning anyway.
Good.
Look, I'm 76 years old. I'm involved in continuous learning, right? That's why I'm not obsolete. Yeah, how many other 76-year-olds are in the top 50 creators on LinkedIn in the world? I can help you. None. That would be me and me. I'm won that contest, right? Well, that's the new world. In the new world, we all have to be continuously learning. And if you don't want to, you're going to lose.
How are you using AI to help you continuously learn at the moment, Marshall? What are some of the
I
tips you
use
might
it
have?
I use it all the time. For example, I might say, you know, I'm working on a LinkedIn post. I really want to influence people with a certain Hindu. I want to influence people from India. What are some sensitivities I need to have in order to do this well? Make an illustration for me that is culturally sensitive yet not offensive to people. Stuff like that. That's very sophisticated stuff. I did it yesterday. I do this all the time. I'm very used to this. Now, it's a little different for me because almost all the AI computer bots know me. So I'll say, hello, this is Marshall Goldsmith. Oh, hi, Marshall. How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. So they know me.
Mm.
So they're actually talking to me as me.
For most people, they don't have a body of work,
Yeah.
books,
Yeah, it
podcasts,
doesn't know most
history,
people.
reputation online, so it's not gonna have all that stuff.
It does know. And also after I do this several hours, it knows me even better. So, they know me very well.
I tried something recently, Marshall, I thought was interesting. I wonder if you've tried it, or maybe you've tried it and gone even further. I use AI a lot, 30, 40 times a day for so many different tasks. So I'm giving it information, asking it questions, uploading recordings and all sorts of things. And I asked it recently, what are my 5 weaknesses? Top 5 weaknesses. You know, I didn't say 5 because there's probably 50, but I said, give me my top 5. And it produced what I thought was a really insightful list of 5 weaknesses that I have. And then I
Yeah.
asked it, how can I develop those weaknesses into opportunities and strengths? Have you ever tried something like that to see how well it actually knows you and then validate whether it's good or not?
Sort of. Yeah, I ask it, what are things I've left out?
Mm.
When I'm trying to communicate with people, what are some things I haven't talked about that I should have? Given my background, I can't talk about everything, but, what could I have done better? So I do that as well, and I find it very useful. And again, what is the downside? I don't see a downside. Like you ask about your weaknesses. All right, let's say you disagreed with one of their assessments. Okay, fine. You're an adult. You got 4 out of 5. Just go with that. Let's say you got one that was useful for you, one idea that was useful. You won. A, how much time did that take? Not much. B,
Uh,
what did it cost? Nothing.
uh,
Okay, if your attitude is, look, I don't expect this to be perfect. I'm not going to take this blindly on faith. I'm going to use it as an adult. It's a source of information. Then I, as an adult, am going to decide how to deal with it. That's what you did.
I love that approach. That give it a go. I try to say to people when they ask me questions, can AI do this? What would you use it for? Is this the thing? I'm like, you shouldn't be asking me. Go ask the AI. Like this is, you know, I have an opinion, but go ask ChatGPT.
Well, let me tell you a new thing we're working on. This is brand new. So I'm also kind of a contributor to this whole world, given I've got my own AI bot. I've spent hundreds of hours on this. So for me, this is not trivial. So I'm now working on 2 types of AI responses. Now let me give you, I'm writing a whole new book now that is the world's first AI prompt book,
ooh,
which is fun. So I'm working on the world's first AI prompt book. I've only done 60 books, so I've got to get off my butt and do something new here. So it's the world's first AI prompt book. So I ask it questions, and it now can answer some of the questions in a way that is what I call non-variable. Now, this is very exciting because what happens is traditional AI provides a variable response. Now, you can't write a book that way. If the book is organized around prompts, you can't do it with a variable response because the book has to flow together.
Hmm.
We're training my AI to have both variable and fixed responses. Now, fixed response doesn't change. If you ask a certain question, it'll give you a fixed response, which in many cases can be much more human sounding than a traditional computer response. So I'm going to see if I can come up with an example for you from my own AI of a response that doesn't sound like a computer talking. It sounds like a person talking. And so I'm very, very excited about this. So the idea is coming up with answers that are human-like, but you can't do that with traditional AI for a variety of reasons. One, it's going for new things, new information. It's very complicated, but I've really worked hard on this. And also, let's say you want to use an AI in your corporate HR. Well, you can't do that. You can't do it because what happens is if you're doing it, it doesn't sound right. Because what happens is, for example, it asks a legal question. Maybe it asks a legal question. Well, what are you going to do? You can't sit there and have a variable response to a legal question. You have to have a fixed response. So that's what I've been working on, is putting together a system so I can use my AI to provide, and I'm looking up some of the things to give you illustrations. I can provide both fixed and variable responses. And when you do that, like I ask it, what is your educational background? Well, that's a question. Now it can answer it in a way that sounds like me talking.
Hmm.
It doesn't sound like I'm reading a bio or something. It sounds like I'm just having a conversation with you. So what happens is when I can do that, it really changes the dynamic of the whole AI process. It's a lot of work, but
My name is Marshall Goldsmith, and I come from a small town called Valley Station, Kentucky. My early education was quite humble, with my elementary school lacking indoor plumbing. Despite my high school being ranked near the bottom in Kentucky, I was fortunate to receive high scores on the Scholastic Aptitude tests, which allowed me to secure a scholarship for college. I attended Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, a prestigious small engineering school, although I was not an exemplary student there. In 2023, I was honored to be the graduation speaker and received an honorary PhD in engineering from Rose-Hulman.
it goes on. It talks about me and my background. Like I wasn't a good student. That doesn't sound like a computer bot.
No, not like a bio,
Who did that sound like?
like a human, like a person.
Sound like me.
Mm.
Now, here's another interesting thing that I'm working on. Every AI bot is biased. My AI bot is biased. They're all biased. Why? They're biased by something. Let me give you an example. If you ask any AI bot a question, what is leadership? You're going to get an answer. As soon as you get an answer, it's biased. Why that answer? There are 1,000 possible answers. Why that answer? It's biased. My computer bot is biased. I'm the bias.
By design.
I'm the bias.
Mm.
So what is leadership? I'll tell you what I think. Now, here's the key. I'm not saying my answers are correct in some absolute sense. My answer is my answer. I'm not saying it's the right answer. Paul Hersey, my old mentor, taught me this. Never get into semantic arguments. What is leadership? There's 70 definitions. Just say what it means to you. There's not a God out there defining the right answers. People spend hours arguing about the definitions of words. What a waste of time.
Are you able to see data on some of the questions that are being put into the bot, Marshall? Have you got any insight into what are people asking marshallgoldsmith.ai?
Yeah, I've got reams of questions that people ask. So it's been asked right now 114,000 questions.
Wow. What are some of the more interesting ones you've seen, or the trends even you've seen?
Well, human beings are human beings. So you're going to get X number of what I call goofy questions, like just dumb things, people having fun, it's not bad, but they're just having fun here, asking doofy questions like, but most of the questions are not doofy questions. Most of them are actually trying to learn something. They're serious questions about leadership. They're specific questions. And I'd say I haven't looked at the recent numbers, but we can give answers about 85-90% of the time.
True.
And by the way, it doesn't answer questions about politics. So if you ask it, who is Donald Trump? My computer bot, you know what it says?
Tell me.
I don't know. I don't
does
know.
Does anyone even know the answer to that question, Marshall?
Well, it doesn't deal with politics. It doesn't deal with, what are the 5 ways to cure a cold? It doesn't give medical advice. So mine is just focused on life, coaching, leadership. That's it.
What you mentioned earlier that you use AI sometimes to ask it, are there gaps in maybe areas that you should be talking about? Have you got any insights from the questions asked to the bot on areas where you go, oh, that's trending, that's the theme that people are most interested in, or is it what you would expect? Is it the same leadership questions that you get asked in person and have done so for decades?
I would say yes and no. Yes, you're exactly right. There are a lot of the same questions I've been asked for decades.
Right.
And there are new questions. A lot of the newer questions are about technology, though.
Right. What kind of questions? Can you think of any?
How can I use this to help me be a better leader? How can I use this kind of technology as a coach? Stuff like that.
How can people use this type of technology to be a better leader, to be a better coach? How would you answer that? How would you, real Marshall Goldsmith, answer that?
Well, first I'll answer it from a perspective of one thing I do a lot of work with is other coaches. So right now I'm a mentor to many other people who are coaches. I'm a second author now on books. So at my age, I'm trying to help other people in my field, to replace, basically I'm training my replacements here. At 76, I'm not going to be here in 20 years. So I'm training the new generation of me. And so what I teach people in the coaching world is this is a supplement that you can use to help you. For example, I use it myself. One of my clients is going to be a co-CEO. Now, this is a children's hospital, and he has a huge hospital, and he's merging. A co-CEO is a very unusual job.
Yeah.
So I asked my own computer bot, what are the advantages and challenges of being a co-CEO? It gave a brilliant response. What advice would you have to a co-CEO? It was brilliant. It was based on my philosophy. It was actually much better than I could have done. Much more detailed. Then he asked me, well, what do I want to add to it? Well, I said a few things. He was kind of polite. He said, oh, those are really wise. Well, I'm not sure he actually meant it. It wasn't that much. I didn't really add much value here. It was wonderful. I'm not in a contest. See, I'm not in a contest with this. I'm not in a contest with AI. I'm not trying to prove I'm smarter than this. I am not smarter than this. It can answer questions better than I can. Okay. That's fine. A calculator can add and subtract faster than I can. Okay, that's the world. The goal of coaching should be to help the client, not to prove you're smart.
I guess the benefit is that this is you on your best day every time. This is you may be there's, I'm sure, a day where you could have put together a perfectly brilliant answer better than the AI. But it's the consistency of every time you ask marshallgoldsmith.ai a question, it's going to be really consistent and give you great answers every time.
Well, also there's the issue of time. If I had been given a week to study that question, I could have come up with a great answer.
Right.
I didn't have a week. He
I,
got
I,
that. He got that
I,
in 5 seconds.
I love the use case here because it was said to me recently, a lot of people are using AI for admin tasks. They see it as it can do my admin, it can summarize some stuff for me. But somebody's a brighter person than I had said to me, if you had an assistant that had an IQ of 140, 160, would you be getting it to do your admin? Or would
Right.
you be having deep conversations, tackling big, challenging problems, which seems to be what you have built this for. You built it for the right IQ level,
Oh,
proper
yeah.
meat stuff.
Yeah. And for example, here's the way I look at this as a writer. Now, I have co-written or co-edited 60 books. I've done 4 New York Times bestsellers. I did not write any of those books by myself.
Mm.
I have a co-author. It's not a secret.
Right.
His name is Mark Ryder. His name's on the books. He's a great guy, right? I could have written those books. He can write better than me. I am
Mm.
not ashamed of the fact that he can write better than me. Our idea is write a great book. I could write a much better book with him than I could have by myself. This is it helps me think. It helps me write. It comes up with ideas. What's wrong with that? You say, well, you're not doing it all by yourself. I never wrote any of my books by myself. By the way, I'm a Buddhist. I really didn't invent all of these ideas I came up with. Yeah, Peter Drucker. I learned from Peter Drucker. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm inventing everything out of the sky. So I think this is just fantastic because for me, it's kind of like a partner. I look at it as like I think, I write, it talks to me. So I do not treat this as a secretary.
But if we think about, the value of this to me, to go back full circle to where we started the conversation, Marshall, you have a phenomenal reputation and brand, and people can ask ChatGPT straight out some questions on coaching and leadership and get a pretty good answer.
Yeah,
But this is a tool that you have handcrafted,
right,
influenced, and it basically is something you stand over. And when you have a brand and a trusted brand like yours, and you are that trusted voice, I guess the difference for anyone who wants to figure out why they should use this over something else is that you endorse this. You've helped build this. You've coached it. You've guided it. You've taken the wrong answers out, redirected it. I guess that's the beauty of it. If people are, they believe in your vision as a leader, which such a huge audience do. If you
right,
want coaching endorsed by Marshall on scale or
right.
advice, this is the tool that gives it to you.
Yeah, I'm the bias.
Mm,
I am the bias. Now,
mm,
again, number one, I love what you said about several things today. I really love your concept of don't treat this as a secretary. I mean, to me, you should share that message with everybody.
mm.
I never heard it said the way you said it, so I love the way you said it. You got somebody here with an IQ of 400 and you're treating it like a secretary. Maybe there's more there.
Mm.
See, I don't treat this as a secretary. I treat this as a partner.
Mm.
And to me, it's smart. It comes up with ideas and new things, new ways. Quotes. I love quotes now. If you go
Mm.
to my LinkedIn, you see lots of quotes. Why? I cannot remember anything from Peter Drucker that wasn't a quote. What do I remember? His quotes. It used to be I'd write a book and you get a quote from the book. Now I just write a quote. And you know what helps me? It helps me. It looks at my quotes, it analyzes my quotes, it understands quotes, and it helps me write quotes. Now, when I was younger, I'm going to give you, this is more personal, but I'll give you a shift I've made psychologically. When I was younger, I would have said, well, you're putting some little quote up on LinkedIn. Nobody's life is going to change because they read some stupid quote you wrote. I don't think that way anymore.
Mm.
Let
I
me tell
agree.
you why. I got 1.5 million followers. Last week, 600,000 people read something I posted. 600,000 last week. Now let us imagine that they averaged a 1 minute slightly better life per person. 1 minute. That's a lot of minutes.
Sure.
That is a whole lot of minutes. So as I've grown older, I just want to help people have a little better life. If I help 600,000 people have one better minute, you know how I feel about last week? It's a good week.
Well, I use an example of Mark Twain is arguably one of the most quoted authors in terms of his lines. People might not remember his stories,
Of course
but
not.
they remember his quotes. The quotes, 8, 9, 10 words, you'll use that over and over again. And I agree with you. I think a succinct, well-written quote has enormous power. People focus too much time on a speech that lasts an hour. Martin Luther King's famous speech, the parts that we remember, there's 2 or 3 lines. The speech
Right.
is much, much longer and nobody remembers the rest of it. You have those 2 or 3 lines or one key line, one key message. That is the gold.
Well, I have to say one thing. One quote changed my life.
What was that?
One quote. What got you here won't get you there.
It is very, very true.
I have to say that one quote made a little bit of difference in my life.
And you know what, Marsh? It might be a good way to conclude, because I think what you're saying to leaders is, when it comes to whatever got you here, which is maybe the non-AI way, is probably not going to be the thing that gets you there, which is to go ahead and embrace technology. It's good advice, Marshall.
Thank you. Well, I love talking with you. So thank you very much for inviting me in. I love some of your ideas, and I think it would be good for you just to, you have a little platform to the degree you can share some of those. I think you have a very healthy attitude toward looking at AI. It would be good to share.
Well, I tell you, Marshall, I'll end on the piece of leadership feedback or coaching advice that sticks with me, particularly in the hiring world, was to always go out and try and find smarter people than you to work for you. And when I see AI and I see its potential and I see it as being much smarter, I'm like, that's a way to go. Follow that principle and bring smarter people than you in to help you. I think every leader should be doing that.
I love it.
Marshall, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Really appreciate you giving your time. I know you're a busy man. Next time, we're going to invite Marshall Goldsmith.ai on the show to see what he says and maybe line them up side by side.
You got to hear him talk a little bit anyway.
We did. I'm Marshall. That's brilliant. Just to remind everybody, it's marshallgoldsmith.ai. It's free, no strings attached. I really encourage everyone to check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource. Thank you for putting your energy, your wisdom, and, as you say, your bias into it. That's what
Thank
makes
you
it
so
beautiful,
much.
Marshall. No, it's all. Thank you. And thank you for listening. Appreciate your time this week. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Hiring Excellence. It's always a pleasure to have Marshall join us to share his fantastic wisdom. Do check out marshallgoldsmith.ai. Next week, we'll be back with another fabulous guest on Hiring Excellence. Until then, enjoy your week.